Good evening. We are finally on. It's lockdown night 90 or something. I'm sure people are getting very tired of seeing me every evening. And sometimes we have some special guests that come along to liven up our lockdown. And I'm chuffed to bits that I've got somebody who I would now class as a friend. I didn't know her a couple of months back, but we are joined by the one and only Grace Webb off of CBeebies and Bitesize. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Grace Webb.
My goodness, that was an introduction.
Yeah, that
Thank
was an
you.
introduction. Grace, you've got your own show on CBeebies, which is pretty cool. We're going to come to that in a minute, but that is not how we met. Tell everybody who's watching, how did we meet?
We actually met during the first week of filming on BBC Bitesize, didn't we?
We did.
And
We did.
it was really good actually because it was a first for everyone, like first for Karim, for the whole crew, for us. So I really liked that being a part of the first bit where no one really knew how it was going to go,
Yeah.
but we just did it, and actually it's been going strong for a good few weeks now, hasn't
Yeah,
it?
it was crazy, wasn't it? Because the whole world at that point really had shut down. You know, we're on lockdown now, but it doesn't feel like it. And it was just really strange to drive down. There's hardly any cars on the motorway. And we go into this screen. It was it's the match of the day studio, isn't it?
Yeah.
Massive, massive green screen, and you know it's just green everywhere. But then you look up on the screen, and you got this posh flooring and a background, and it's just a really weird thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so cool how it transforms and how it all comes together on TV.
Yeah. Have you ever used an auto cue before? Because I'd not used an auto cue before then.
No, because when we filmed Machines, that was all I had. I had to learn the script, and I thought that was stressful. And then when you got the autocue and you've got to read and get it all right, that was stressful.
Which is the most
But
stressful? Because I've watched, we have watched all of it. It's two series, isn't it? So far, of Grace's Amazing Machines.
well, one with me and one with Katie presenting it.
Yeah, but what's the hardest, auto cue, or I think it must be harder just presenting without something.
Um, I mean, it's hard to like remember all the words when you've got a script to remember, but with that you can do like several takes if you get
Yeah.
it wrong a couple of times. Whereas the autocue, you kind of got to read the whole way through without slipping up at all.
It's a
Um,
good point. Sometimes you'd have a really long chunk, wouldn't you?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
So it both has its pros and cons.
it's a really cool. There's a few people that wanted to say hello to them already, and I don't want to miss them out. So can you say hello to Betsy and Brooke?
Yeah.
Go on. There
Hiya.
you go. That is,
It's nice to see you.
and somebody who I've not seen pop up on here before, so I think she's one of your fans, if I'm honest.
Okay.
Enza, can you say hello to Enza, please?
Hello, Enza. Thanks for joining us.
So I've got some more questions, if you don't mind. I've got my notes here.
Okay.
So Grace, you are very very passionate about something in your life, and you've made this your career. What is it for everybody out there? What is your passion in life? Would you say?
I would say it would be motorsports in general. Obviously, people know from the show that I love my motorbike, but coming from a family where motorsport was everything, uh, from my grandfather, my dad, my brothers, all engineers, so I've grown up watching them make things and getting involved myself. So, yeah, anything to do with wheels and engines, that's a bit of me.
So you're into your motorbikes, is that right?
Yes, so in
So
particular, I do like my bikes.
so how old were you when you were first allowed to ride a motorbike? Not like on the roads. I'm not
How
talking illegal. I'm talking like on a scrambler bike, or like did you have to like? How old were you when
Yeah,
you first rode a bike?
I think I was about, probably say 8.
Right.
Um, so we had a big garden growing up, so we were quite lucky that we could ride off road and drive off road and not get caught.
Yeah.
And mum and dad would always be watching over us. Um, so yeah, probably from about 8, and that was just something that my dad had bodged together in the shed and was like, right, put this helmet on, give it a go.
Wow. Do you like the adrenaline, Grace? Let's be honest. Do you like the adrenaline?
yeah, it is fun, but I do have to say I'm more of a track person than off-road.
Yeah.
I like a silky smooth path.
I'm just looking. Do you know somebody? Is this a relation? Asia Webb. Asia is it, how do I pronounce it? Akia Webb? How do I pronounce it? I
Yeah,
remember.
that's my brother.
It's your
You say
brother.
it Asa.
Asa. That is
Yeah,
one
Asa.
cool name, Asa. Check that
Yeah.
out. How cool are your parents?
Yeah,
So
Grace and Ace.
that's pretty cool combo that you got. He's got some video on memories of you riding bikes as kids.
Oh,
We need to get those out into the public domain. That could be cute.
that's it. I didn't
Yeah.
even know he'd got that. He said he'd be watching, so I'm glad he is.
I
Hey,
can't
Ace.
believe I got his name Akia. What an idiot. As if he was called
uh,
Akia. Asa, that is a cool
you
name.
go for it. It's a bit of an inside joke. You're not the first teacher to have called him a different
I'd be at
name.
the front and be like, how do I pronounce this? What's the most exciting machine what's the machine that you, when you were doing your show, what was the machine? Maybe it's not on TV. What's the machine that you knew you were going to get involved with, have a go on, that you were just really excited to have a go on?
Yeah, I get asked this question quite a lot, and it's so tough because there literally is so many amazing machines. But obviously, I was super excited about the super bike
Yeah.
because that bike was newly released at the time, so it was almost yeah, like I felt really privileged to be able to ride it and document about it, and especially to show kids that bikes are safe. You know, as long as you've got your gear, you're wearing a helmet, you're being sensible. I think sometimes motorbikes get a bit of a bad name, but actually you're in control of it. So as long as you've got your head focused, you'll be all right.
Are you quite handy if all your family are engineers? Are you quite handy with them as well then? Because I'd be hopeless.
Yeah, well, I like to get involved. I like to, if I'm riding it, I want to know that if something does go a bit wrong with it, I can have a go at fixing it. I'm
Really?
not saying I'm an expert by any means, but
But you'd
I
give it a
do
go.
like to know the. Yeah, yeah.
Is there any machines that you've looked forward to, or you've got like had a go on and you just think, didn't do it for me? Any that you just thought this isn't me?
Um, mm, I have to say a lot of the off-road machines were very bumpy, and that took a bit of skill to get around. Um, but no, I wouldn't say there was any that I disliked. It was just there's some that I liked more than
More than
others.
others. So
Yeah.
you're into motorsports. How do you go? Because the whole thing that we try to do is to try to get the kids to dare to dream and the adults. Now, and I said to you this before we came on. For me, you're very modest, and when we met, you were very modest, and I'm like, whoa, you got your own show. This is amazing. You know, CBeebies, one of the biggest kids TV channels in the world, and it is the world. It's the BBC, and it's really cool. And you're getting that glint because you're thinking this is pretty cool. How do you go from knocking about on motorbikes to having your own show on BBC? And I reckon your mum's watching, Tina, our beautiful Tina's watching. And I'm thinking your family are probably really proud of you. And they sat there that first time that the show was on the iPlayer and broadcast, and they were probably chuffed to bits that you'd done it. How did you go from knocking about on a bike at 8 to having your own show, do you reckon? What happened in between?
Well, do you know, I have got to give them credit. You know, my family have supported me the whole time. Um, you know, when I said that I was going to do a bit of a career change from teaching to presenting, you know, they were all for it. But I have to say that, you know, I've loved bike ever since I was younger, loved machines. And I do believe that if you choose to continue to do something that you love, you can make a career out of it and you can do it for years until you grow old. I truly believe that if you choose to do what you love, it'll work out for you. And
Totally
it
agree.
has for me. So,
Totally agree. Because did you do TV stuff? Wasn't it something to do with motorsport TV or something like that? How did you get into that?
well, that came around because of my love of bikes. So, my brothers both raced motorbikes, and obviously #1 fan. I always went to watch their races, would do their pit boarding and a bit of mechanicking and all that kind of stuff for them. And I'd been around the Thundersport paddock for years, and they started to televise it, and they wanted to get it out online and Freeview TV, and they were like, right, we need a presenter. But I think also they wanted someone who was a bit knowledgeable about the riders as well. So hence that's where I came in, because I'd been around for so long and chatted to a lot of the riders, that I knew a bit of background about a lot of people. And they were like, do you want to do it? And I was like, yeah, let's give it a go.
and that's the thing, isn't it? Sort of, there's lots of us in life that an opportunity comes along, where somebody asks a question and you can say yes or you can say no. And you could have turned around and said, oh, this is not for me, I don't think I can do it. And I don't know about you, but I definitely felt a bit like that with Bitesize. They rang me up, do you want to do it? And I actually said there's a lot better teachers out there, if I'm totally honest. I genuinely said that. I was a bit nervous. But you had that moment, and you could have said no, but you said yes. And I think some of the message that we're trying to get out there is to say yes to stuff. Do you remember the first time that you did that motorsport TV, and that feeling? What was that like?
Oh, definitely. And I worked with another presenter who'd been doing it before I had, and he helped me a lot as well. But I think I'm one that definitely still struggles with self-esteem. I'm my own worst enemy sometimes, but I think I would have regretted it more if I said no than to give it a go and see what happens. And just give it a go and you might surprise yourself.
It looks like my little boy's just come to, he's gone.
Oh,
He's
hello.
just snucks, he's gone. I don't think he realised that I was on here. The other thing that I want to talk, so it's about, you're right, it's almost better to regret trying something and failing or getting wrong, but looking back thinking that you took that opportunity. But the other thing that kind of fascinated me when we first met was you were assistant head at a really young age, weren't you? In a big school as well.
Yeah. So I took an assistant head role after 4.5 years of teaching. And yeah, that was definitely a big moment in my career, definitely.
But then you decide, right, I'm doing really well in the world of teaching, and I'm going to sack it all off. I'm just going to sack it all off and go and do something else. Do you remember? How did that feel? That's pretty brave.
Yeah, but again, that's another example of that opportunity and having to say yes to it because it's too awesome to miss.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, especially after seeing Katie's series and what a good job she did, I learned a lot from her, and you take inspiration from other people to give you the courage to do something that maybe scares you a bit, because it was a massive change for me going from teaching to presenting. It was still in the world of education and children's, but I've learned a lot about TV since taking it on.
No, I just thought that was really brave of you. There's so many people, like, when things come along, we just get a bit nervous and we chicken out of it. And the whole message is, if you really want to achieve something, you've got to go out there and get it, and deal with the fact that you might get rejected along the way. People might not say yes to you at times.
Yeah, but I do believe that things happen for a reason. And when I went for the Amazing Machine job, I just had to tell myself, you've got nothing to lose. Just go for it.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work out, there was a reason it didn't work out. And if it did work out, then there was a reason that it did.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got to read out a comment because they put it on a couple of minutes back, and I've been dying to share because I got goosebumps because it was really nice. And it's Susan Mothers. Do you know Susan Mothers? She says, "Don't get nervous. It's nothing weird." Susan Mothers, right? And this is lovely. She's just put, Spalding Primary School is extremely proud of you. How lovely! How lovely is that?
Yeah. So Spalding Primary School was the first school I taught at, and Susan Mothers was my first teaching assistant when I was a newly qualified teacher. How is that? It's so amazing.
I think that's really lovely that she's taken the effort to say that. And I think, do you know what? I think we should say fair play to your family. Your mum and dad have done a pretty decent job. You know, they've brought up a CBeebies presenter. You know, they've done all right, haven't they?
Thank you.
Do you know,
Thank you.
somebody's asked, I think this may be the same person as earlier on. Could you say hello to Attila from our school? Could you say hello to Attila? Is that okay?
Hello, Attila. Yeah, I think Attila was the one who's asked the
Yes.
question I mentioned.
Yeah, that is right. Attila, the family are lovely. I know the family very well. And they're lovely. And Attila wants to know what your favourite dinosaur is. Do you have a favourite dinosaur?
Well, I knew this question was going to come up because I saw it on Facebook before. So I would have to say my favourite dinosaur is a pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl.
Because
Strong.
it flies, and that's a skill that I wish I had.
It's funny because that was going to be one of my questions. If you had a superpower, or like, you know, some super strength, what would it be? But it sounds like it would be flying.
Yeah, flying. And you know, when we filmed the wing walking for Amazing Machines, you stood on top of the wing. That literally, if you want to know what it feels like to fly, it simulates, because you're out in the open, the wind and everything. It was great.
I'd love to do that. I would absolutely love to do that.
Yeah,
Your mum, the beautiful Tina, has said, "We are so proud of Gracie always." It's a beautiful moment, and you love her. This is a beautiful thing we've got going on. Now, Grace, I understand you get asked loads of questions about machines. So we're going to go off a little bit on a tangent, okay? And I'd like to pretend that other people have come up with the questions, but they haven't. I have. And if they're a bit weird, I apologise. So what is your most used emoji?
My most used emoji. Hold on, I'll tell you now. My most used emoji is the thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Yeah, that's a strong choice. Mine's rainbow. You know, the whole like lockdown thing. I put rainbows at the end. People must be like, I've got an emoji bar on my laptop, so all my emails have little emojis on. People must think I've lost the plot.
I think they're one of the greatest inventions ever. I love it.
Do you know what a strong statement that is? One of the best inventions ever. You know, let's sack off the internet, telephones, television. We're talking emojis. Yeah. You heard it first here, guys. Emojis.
There's some things that you just don't know how to say, but an emoji does.
Do you know what? I'm going to keep it real, Grace, and I'm going to share something with you, right? Okay. I'm going to make myself vulnerable and put it out there to anybody watching. Now, I find it weird when I text blokes sometimes, because they don't dare put a kiss at the end. And it just feels like, if they don't put a kiss or an emoji, it feels like it's just been left hanging. And there's a guy whose name I do normally know, but under the pressure of this, I forgot. And he's a man's man. Oh, what's he called? Bob Hewitt. He's in Fleetwood. He works the doors. He's manages a security firm. I love him. He's a brilliant bloke. But and he puts a kiss at the end of his messages. And I love Bob Hewitt for that. He puts and then he puts a kiss. Real men, guys, put kisses at the end of the text. And I'm just throwing it out there.
To finish, isn't it?
Yeah.
Finish your message.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to move on to an equally intellectual conversation. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you on that one. McDonald's or KFC?
McDonald's.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Burger or chicken nuggets?
Well, I'm a bit of a veggie, so...
Oh, I didn't do my research, did I? I should have said burger. How embarrassing.
Well, I would say burger then, because I do like a good veggie burger.
We'll move on very quickly. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Tea. How do you take it?
Oat milk and honey.
Check you out! I wasn't expecting such a detailed answer. I thought you were going to say just a bit of milk, but wow, that is very wow. You have changed since you've been on CBeebies. You know, is that your rider? Do you know what? We'll give everyone an insight who's watching. She had a rider when we were at Bitesize, didn't you? You had everything laid out, your honey, your oat milk, and somebody to rub her shoulders and things. Disgraceful.
That is a load of
It's
rubbish.
complete. Cadbury's or Galaxy?
Galaxy.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you on that one, but I think that's a niche choice. I think Cadbury's is the obvious one. Favourite sweet, not including chocolate?
The red gummy bears.
Wow, very, very specific there.
Has to be a red one.
I think I'd go Tangfastics. Haribo Tangfastics.
Too-
I mean, they take a layer off your tongue, but I do quite like them. Have you got any Netflix tips? Now, I'll be honest, there's a lot of kids watch, but there's also lots of mums and dads watch. Have you got any tips for Netflix that we're allowed to share with people? And it's something worth binge watching?
Tips for Netflix.
I mean, the ones I would recommend wouldn't be decent for this audience, if I'm honest. So you can duck this one if you want.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, the ones I've watched.
One I caught. Go on, what were you
I
going
am
to say?
looking forward to. I've seen the new Maleficent film is
Okay.
come out on the TV, so I'm actually quite excited to watch that. And I think that's child friendly.
Yeah, I mean, mine definitely weren't, so we'll maybe leave that one. If you could go back in time or go forward in time, which one would you rather?
Back in time.
Back in time. Interesting. Where would you go back in time, do you reckon?
To the 90s.
I thought you were going to say like the 1800s, but no, the actual 90s. I did not see that coming. Why the 90s?
Because that's when I was a kid and time
Oh,
went
that's
a lot
brilliant.
slower.
I
and
love.
There's loads of fun things.
You know, you think that big that you've got your own show, but in terms of going back in time, you're quite happy with the 90s. I'd go back to 97 when I first started going out with my friends. That would be quite good. If you had your own late night talk show, who would be the first person that you invited on to interview?
Oh, wow, that's a question. First person I'd be on to interview would probably be Pink.
Oh, yeah, good choice.
Singer, songwriter. I've listened to her music in the 90s, still do now. I think she's great. But I think she's got a good view on the world, and I think she'd make for an interesting conversation.
I think I'm with you. That is a good choice. That's a good choice. Now, I'm conscious. I've hassled you now for 25 minutes. I know. Even I was like, "Whoa, we're 25 minutes in." I kind of forgot that there's all these people watching. You are going to read as a story, aren't you?
Yes,
and it's one that we've not had on. Now, I always explain to people and everyone else watching at home, I'm going to disappear off the screen, but then effectively you can just see me and you are reading to a grown man, which is weird. But I will sit here very patiently, drinking my water as you read me your story. Do you mind sharing with everyone what you're going to read?
Yeah, I will. Got it here. I'm going to read a chapter from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
That is an awesome choice. That is genuinely one of my favourite books in the entire world.
Mr. Wonka has Galaxy in his chocolate factory, because that would be what I'd choose.
So I'm gonna disappear off the screen, and I'm gonna hand over to the wonderful Grace Webb. Grace, it's all yours.
Thank you. Right, I'm going to choose to read the chapter that's called The Chocolate Room. So even if you've not read this story before, I'm opening up halfway, but I reckon everyone can still enjoy this chapter, even if you don't know what's happened before it. So the chapter is called The Chocolate Room. An important room, this, cried Mr. Wonka, taking a bunch of keys from his pocket and slipping one into the keyhole of the door. This is the nerve centre of the whole factory, the heart of the whole business, and so beautiful. I insist upon my rooms being beautiful. I can't abide ugliness in factories. In we go then, but do be careful, my dear children. Don't lose your heads, don't get overexcited, keep very calm. Mr. Wonka opened the door. 5 children and 9 grown-ups pushed their ways in, and oh, what an amazing sight it was that now met their eyes. They were looking down upon a lovely valley. There were green meadows on either side of the valley, and along the bottom of it there flowed a great brown river. What is more, there was a tremendous waterfall halfway along the river, a steep cliff over which the water curled and rolled in a solid sheet, and then went crashing down into a boiling, churning whirlpool of froth and spray. Below the waterfall, and this was the most astonishing sight of all, a whole mass of enormous glass pipes were dangling down into the river from somewhere high up in the ceiling. I've got here the picture that it shows in the book. They really were enormous, those pipes. There must have been a dozen of them at least, and they were sucking up the brownish muddy water from the river and carrying it away to goodness knows where. And because they were made of glass, you could see the liquid flowing and bubbling along inside them. And above the noise of the waterfall, you could hear the never-ending sucking sound of the pipes as they did their work. Graceful trees and bushes were growing along the riverbanks, weeping willows and tall clumps of rhododendrons with their pink and red blossoms. In the meadows, there were thousands of buttercups. "There!" cried Mr. Wonka, dancing up and down and pointing his gold-topped cane at the great brown river. "It's all chocolate. Every drop of that river is hot melted chocolate of the finest quality, the very finest quality. There's enough chocolate in there to fill every bathtub in the entire country, and all the swimming pools as well. Isn't it terrific? And just look at my pipes. They suck up the chocolate and carry it away to all the other rooms in the factory where it's needed. Thousands of gallons an hour, my dear children. Thousands and thousands of gallons." The children and their parents were too flabbergasted to speak. They were staggered, they were dumbfounded, they were bewildered and dazzled. They were completely bowled over by the hugeness of the whole thing. They simply stood and stared. "The waterfall is the most important," Mr. Wonka went on. "It mixes the chocolate, it churns it up, it pounds it and beats it, it makes it light and frothy. No other factory in the world mixes its chocolate by waterfall, but it's the only way to do it properly. The only way. And do you like my trees?" he cried, pointing with his stick. "And my lovely bushes? Don't you think they look pretty? I told you I hated ugliness. And of course they are all eatable. All made of something different and delicious. And do you like my meadows? Do you like my grass and my buttercups? The grass you are standing on, my dear little ones, is made of a new kind of soft minty sugar that I've just invented. I call it swudge. Try a blade, please do, it's delectable." Automatically, everybody bent down and picked up one blade of grass. Everybody, that is, except Augustus Gloop, who took a big handful. And Violet, before tasting her blade of grass, took the piece of world record-breaking chewing gum out of her mouth and stuck it carefully behind her ear. "Isn't it wonderful?" whispered Charlie. "Hasn't it got a wonderful taste, Grandpa?" "I could eat the whole field," said Grandpa Joe, grinning with delight. "I could go around on all fours like a cow and eat every blade of the grass in the field." "Try a buttercup," cried Mr. Wonka. "They're even nicer." Suddenly the air was filled with screams of excitement. The screams came from Veruca Salt. She was pointing frantically to the other side of the river. Look over there," she screamed. "What is it? He's moving. He's walking. It's a little person. It's a little man down there below in the waterfall." Everybody stopped picking buttercups and stared across the river. "She's right, Grandpa," cried Charlie. "It is a little man. Can you see him?" "I see him, Charlie," said Grandpa Joe excitedly, and now everybody started shouting at once. "There's two of them! My gosh, so there is. There's more than two. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. What are they doing? Where did they come from? Who are they?" Children and parents alike rushed down to the edge of the river to get a closer look. Aren't they fantastic? No higher than my knee. Look at their funny long hair. The tiny men were no larger than medium-sized dolls. They'd stopped what they were doing, and now they were staring back across the river at the visitors. One of them pointed to the children, and then he whispered something to the other 4, and all 5 of them burst into pearls of laughter. But they can't be real people, Charlie said. Well, of course they're real, Mr. Wonka answered. They're Oompa Loompas.
I've come back on the screen. That was absolutely, you knew that was good, because you must have been able to see me crack a big smile in a few moments, and that was absolutely brilliant. And I love the fact that you went to the effort of printing out pictures, so you get extra points for that one. That's the first of anyone we've had on. Grace, that was so lovely. I know, but I could tell that you're a teacher. You read it so beautifully. It was a bit weird, but
a bit battered because I've read it that many times to groups of children that it's seen better days, this one. But I love this book.
I genuinely really enjoyed that. Thank you so much for doing that. Can I ask you one favour? Because I'm my mum's watching, so your mum's watching. My mum, I can't call her mum. She'll give me grief. Catherine's watching, and she's put great storytelling, and she only puts a nice comment if she means it. You don't mess with our Kath.
Thank you, Mr. Mum.
Asa is saying professional teacher through and through. Sid, who comes on from the Philippines, genuinely, we've got people. He says you're amazing. We've got Susan Ward in Florida. Thinks you've done a great job. Mrs. Shaw at our school thinks you were very well prepared with your printout. They also are hassling me to say, can you say, I think you've already said hello to Enza, but can you say hello to their friends Iggy, Griff and Enza?
Hey, Iggy, Griff and Enza. You sound like a cool crew.
Yeah, they sound like they could fit in your family, if I'm totally honest. Liz Williams says, that was amazing. Thank you. Your mum is now saying thanks to other people who've said nice things, which is a beautiful thing we've got going on. We've got our own little community going on now, you know.
It's so great to hear.
There's loads of lovely, lovely comments. Grace, you are such a lovely person, and you're very, very modest. And you should be very proud of yourselves. Not yourselves, your family. Bethany Francis says thank you. Daniel says Evie and Attila loved it. There's lots of lovely comments here. So I'm gonna go off live, and I'm gonna say thank you to you off camera. But if anybody enjoyed that, put a little comment. Susan in Florida saying thank you so much. So say thank you to Grace. It's been an absolute delight. I'm very, very grateful for you to coming on, because even I'm sick of my own voice all these nights in. So
I've really enjoyed it. So thank you for asking me.
No,
and
don't be silly. I'm glad you. My mum now apparently they're referring to themselves as the 7 o'clock crew. Like Betty, do you want to come and say hello to Grace? Come on then. Whoops.
Hello.
What's it? Yeah, Grace looks like she's been asleep in a hedge. Daniel said thank you. Alice said thank you. Asa said top. Shout out to you, Dave. Oh, thank you. Asa sounds like a nice guy. He just put something nice. Marianne's put something nice. Pat's, there's loads of nice comments. So, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Grace Webb. I'm going to hang up and then say thank you in person. See you later, everybody.